Hello, this is Jeremy, and today we'll be running through the historical figure assignment for creating a image somewhat like last week's Patrick I did. The first thing I'm going to do is open up the hand-drawn picture I made of Taft. I originally did this on notebook paper because I couldn't find printer paper, but I went through and used the paintbrush to get rid of all the extra lines that were unnecessary. I did the same for the logo, just improvising with the materials I had. So the first thing you want to do is go into the Image tab and go into Adjustments. First, you're going to want to desaturate the photo to make sure everything is in purely black and white colors. Since I used CamScan to get this photo onto my computer, this has already been done for me, so this is why there's not much of a change when I did this. But if you take a regular picture and put it onto here, you're going to have to use the image adjustments and desaturate it. So now that I have Taft up here, I'm going to add the classical background. I use this in my Patrick picture as well, and the link to this will be in the description. So what we're going to want to do is make sure it covers the entire picture. And we're going to go over here and make sure we change normal into multiply. This will merge the two layers to make them combine really well. Now that we have this done, we're going to add the logo. Now you can see I have two different logos, same reason I had to go through the paintbrush and get rid of all the school paper lines. I ended up with this. So to change the color of the inside of the logo, I'm going to use the quick select tool, or the lasso tool, to select all that's inside the logo. So usually you want to use really small sections, but with this logo I want straight lines, so I'm going to do very long defined lasso lines. And you'll notice I'm going right down the middle because I used a Sharpie to do the logo, again improvising with the materials I have. So now that I've selected the T, I'm going to shift quick to start a new anchor point, and I can let go of shift. I'm going to just click to keep adding on to the selected area. So each time I'm changing the corner, I'm clicking to create an anchor point. So that's going to select this entire area. Now I'm going to shift, click, and then I'm using my drawn portion more of an outline than a exact science for how I want the logo. So right now it's showing that this isn't selected. That tends to just happen with a selected area inside of another selected area. So we'll deal with that later once we finish selecting all the other things. So I'm just going to continue selecting. Again, when you're doing this, usually you want a lot less space in between each click. However, with the design I'm going for, it's unnecessary for the smaller clicks. As you see, there's a lot of straight lines and almost no curvature within my design. So lastly, I'm going to get this last T. Okay, now that we have it all selected, I'm going to go into the Paint Bucket Tool menu. You can either click here or click the G key to make this pop up. I'm going to select a color that I want for Taft to show in. So I'm going to go with a nice blue. And go ahead and click within each selection. Now that we have all the colors we wanted, I'm going to go back into the Move tool. You don't have to go into the Move tool, but I find it easier just to keep things organized. And since I did this as a separate photo as the assignment I'm actually doing, I'm going to press Ctrl and C to copy the selected area. And I'm going to go back into the assignment. I'm going to move this and paste what I copied into a layer. As you see, it picks the Taft. Now that I have this, I'm going to change the scale of it so that it fits onto the picture better. So I'm just gonna pull up the scale. I'm gonna drag from the corner. I'm gonna find a place for it where I think it belongs. Since this photo takes up most of the place, I'm gonna have it cover the hair a little bit just to fit it onto the canvas. Now that we have our Taft logo, I'm going to add a shadow to it. To do this, you're going to go into this open space of the layer and double click it. This is going to pull up the layers properties. I'm going to go into the drop shadow. Right now the shadow's angle is 0. I'm going to play around with it to what I think looks cool. So as you can see, as you change it, it changes the angle in which the light would have hit it from. So if I'm hitting it from the bottom left, the shadow is going to show up to the top right, which is what I think is going to look best for what we're going for. Now that we have the shadow, I'm going to make it pop out a little more, just since it's a smaller logo. I'm going to have the shadow be really defined and bold. Now that we have the three main parts of the imagery, I'm going to create a background that will become our border. To do this, I'm going to create a new layer. And in this layer, I'm going to go back into the Paint Bucket tool. However, I'm going to right click in it and go into the Gradient tool. Now that I'm in the Gradient tool, I'm going to select a gradient, which I think will look nice as a border for this design. I'm going to go with this one. And I like the just the change from one color to another. So I'm going to go with the first option. This one does, these all do different things, as this creates a angled type of effect, while this one creates a more of a lined effect. So now that I have this effect I want, I'm going to have the colors go, since I clicked from the top left to the bottom right, the colors are going to gradiate from my start point to the end point. And I want vertical lines, so I'm going to go to the top and go straight down. I think that looks good for what I want. So now that I have the layer, I'm going to make it invisible. I'm going to go into the rectangular tool. You can hit the M key to select this. Now that I have this selected, I'm going to select all that's inside of the desired picture, and I'm going to try to keep it so that all of the outside of the picture is kind of even. It doesn't have to be perfect, just eyeball it a little bit. Now that I have this selected, I'm going to right click and then create a layer via cut. What this did is create two different layers, one of what I had selected and one of what I didn't. Now what we can do with this is we can select the layer I don't want to see. That'd be the section I had selected. And I'm going to change the opacity to 0%. As you see, this creates the border around Taft. Now that we have the border, I'm going to create a shadow for this border. So I'm going to do the same thing I did for the logo. I'm going to go into the layer I can see, and I'm going to double click it, go into drop shadow, and since I selected it, it's going to create the same properties as I had selected for Taft. I can also go into the menu and change it to what I want it to look like. So if we just play with it a little bit, I'm going to use a global light just so that the shadow is consistent. I'm going to create a little less distance and spread. And I'm going to play with the angle to see how I can get it to look the best in my opinion. Now that I have this shadow, the image is complete, and that'll be all for the Photoshop project. Thank you for watching.